Ever snag a killer deal online and thought, wait, how is this even legal?
Right.
Today, we're going to dive into something that might just be the source. Liquidation pallets.
Ooh, yeah.
You want to know if these things are a reseller's gold mine or like a recipe for ending up on an episode of Hoarders?
Maybe a little both.
Well, that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We're talking brand name products, often crazy cheap.
What's fascinating is most people outside the reselling world have no clue this whole flow of goods even exists. It's wild.
It really is. But like any good bargain hunt, you know there can be some too good to be true traps lurking.
Oh, absolutely. That's why understanding the why behind these pallets is key. It's not always about damaged goods, which people assume.
Right. So, basic question, but important. Why would companies even bother with these pallets in the first place? What are the most common reasons?
Think of it like this efficiency. Sometimes it's just plain overstock, a product flopped, whatever. Or think about returns.
Oh, right.
The sheer volume major retailers are dealing with these days.
It's got to be insane.
Processing all that individually.
Nightmare. So, like that online store you return those shoes to, some of that stuff ends up on these pallets.
Ding, ding, ding. Maybe the size was wrong or someone changed their mind. Instead of restocking, boom, liquidation pallet. Could be perfectly good items.
See, that's what's so intriguing, the thought of finding like a pallet of designer shoes that were just the wrong size.
Right, and that's just one scenario. You've got closeouts, seasonal stuff, discontinued products,
Yeah.
even inventory from businesses that went under.
So we've got perfectly good stuff, companies eager to get it off their hands. Hence, liquidation. They make back some money, even if it's not full price.
Exactly. It's all about cutting losses and moving on. And for resellers willing to put in the work, the benefits can be huge. Lower costs are obvious, but one article you shared really got me with the inventory diversity these pallets offer.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was so interesting. It's not just one thing. You could stock a whole store with this stuff. Electronics, clothes, home goods. One article even mentioned vintage board games.
The variety is key for reaching a wider customer base. It's not about finding that one hot item. It's about having a constantly evolving inventory. Keeps people coming back for more.
Variety, A&D, the thrill of the hunt, love it. But before we get too deep into the fun stuff, one article threw up a huge red flag that we've got to address. Reseller licenses. What's the deal with those?
That's where a lot of first-time resellers trip up. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, but that's a business, even if you're starting small. And there are legal requirements.
Right, makes sense.
In a lot of places, that license isn't optional.
Lesson 1, don't skip the paperwork. So we know why these pallets exist, some potential benefits, but where do you even find them? This is where it starts to feel like a treasure map. Okay, so it's treasure map time. We've talked about what's in these pallets, but how do you actually find them, get your hands on them? That's the exciting part.
It really is a bit of a maze out there.
Yeah.
But instead of dead ends, you've got like pallets of potential just waiting.
And hopefully not too much potential for disaster, right? One article mentioned direct liquidation as a good starting point. What makes them stand out?
I think they've tapped into something smart. They focus on returns and overstock, but specifically from those big-name retailers. So for a reseller, that means a better chance of finding stuff people actually want. Those brands everyone recognizes.
So it's almost like a built-in quality filter. You're less likely to get stuck with like a pallet of last year's tech disaster.
Exactly. It's strategic sourcing, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can just blindly trust any platform or supplier, of course. You've got to do your research.
Always read the fine print, due diligence. Speaking of which, one thing that surprised me in the articles was the emphasis on logistics partners. Help me understand that, because at first I thought, isn't this all about finding the cheapest pallet possible?
That's where things get interesting. Because, yeah, a crazy good deal on a pallet means nothing if it takes a month to show up at your door, or worse, arrives damaged because the shipping company cut corners. Time is money, especially in reselling.
So a reliable logistics partner, they're like your secret weapon for actually turning those pallets into profit.
100%. They handle all the transportation, sometimes even storage, so you can focus on the reselling side of things, listing, marketing, all that.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. So let's talk strategy. Let's say I'm looking at a pallet full of, I don't know, kitchen gadgets. How do I even begin to figure out if that's a good investment?
Research, my friend. One of the articles, I think it was the eBay seller, had a great tip. Use the platform's own data. They literally track trending products.
So instead of just buying what I think is cool, personally, I'm a sucker for a good avocado slicer. I'll admit it, I need to channel my inner data analyst.
Think of it that way. Look for high demand, low competition. Maybe avocado slicers are rally flying off the shelves right now,
Mm.
or maybe it's time to diversify into a different corner of the kitchen.
This is where it's so crucial to really have your finger on the pulse of what's hot, what's not. Are there any other research avenues you'd recommend?
Don't underestimate good old-fashioned market research. Go on those marketplaces, browse around. What's selling? For how much? Are there certain brands or models that consistently get higher prices?
So it's not just about what's trending overall, but understanding the nuances within a category, certain brands, models, all that.
Exactly. And keep in mind, reselling changes fast. What's popular today might be yesterday's news tomorrow.
Which brings us to, and I hate to say it, but we got to talk about the potential pitfalls. Because this can't all be smooth sailing and profit, right? What are some red flags people should be aware of? Okay, so we're getting to the part of the deep dive where we got to talk about the too good to be true scenarios.
You gotta keep our eyes open.
We've talked about finding amazing pallets, but there's got to be more to it than just clicking bid and waiting for the profits to roll in.
Oh, for sure.
Hmm.
One thing that trips people up is having, unrealistic expectations about the condition of the stuff. Remember, returns, overstock, sometimes it's been sitting on a shelf for who knows how long.
It's not like unboxing a brand new whatever straight from the factory.
Exactly. You might need to do some cleaning, minor repairs, get creative.
Speaking of which, one article mentioned underestimating logistics costs as a big pitfall.
Huge. You find an amazing pallet, get caught up in the excitement, and then bam, shipping costs wipe out your profit margin.
So factoring in those costs from the get-go is crucial, part of that whole strategy.
Absolutely. And don't even get me started on storage. If you don't have space to house these pallets while you sort through everything.
Storage fees on top of everything else, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about actually getting these pallets. Auctions came up a lot online, physical, the whole shebang. Is one inherently better?
It depends. Online is super convenient. Browse from anywhere. Set your limits. No crowds, no pressure.
But maybe you miss out on that in-person inspection, that feeling of treasure hunting at a real auction.
Exactly. That's the trade-off. With physical auctions, you can see the pallets, get a feel for the quality, maybe even snag a last-minute deal if you're lucky.
Sounds like it's about finding the right balance for you. Now, any specific marketplaces you recommend?
Definitely. The bin store is a good one, especially starting out. Tons of categories, easy to use online auctions.
What about liquidation.com? I see them everywhere.
Another good one, but they tend to do more bulk lots. So if you have the space and you're down to go big,
Could be huge, but riskier too, I guess.
there's always a trade-off.
What about Wholesale Central? That came up too.
Yeah, they're more curated, higher quality stuff. Often.
Okay, so we've got options. But regardless of where you go, there are some universal tips that can save you from those rookie mistakes.
Big time. Setting a budget and sticking to it came up in almost every article.
Oh yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the bidding.
Exactly. But overbidding is a quick way to turn a potential profit into a loss. Got to be disciplined.
And inspecting the pallets. Any tips, especially for online auctions where you can't see things in person?
Don't just rely on the description. Ask for more photos, videos, whatever you can get. Maybe even reach out to previous buyers. See what their experience was like.
So it's all about gathering info before you jump in.
Exactly. Knowledge is power in this game.
So there you have it. Whether you're dreaming of designer shoes or uncovering hidden treasures in a mountain of return gadgets, remember, do your research, be strategic, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Happy reselling.